And as we look back on 2025 today, we take a closer look at the major power shifts and electoral outcomes that have reshaped global geopolitics. From Washington to Europe and beyond, electoral outcomes this year have influenced foreign policy priorities, political alignments, and security calculations, raising questions about the balance of power and the direction of international cooperation. And in this segment, we examine what these shifts reveal about the global order as 2025 comes to a close. And from the return of Donald Trump to the US presidency and its rippling effects across the world to key elections and alliances, this segment breaks down how power has moved this year and what it means for the political dynamics in the year ahead. Let us continue our recap through tackling the global elections and power shifts.
Congratulations.
Over the gun.
Palestinian state.
Palestinian Authority.
Palestinian state that's free.
Les bombardements à Gaza.
2025 rewrote the rules of power. From Damascus to Beirut, Washington to Tokyo, ballots replaced bullets, but fragile mandates, unresolved wars, and rising tensions tested whether new leaders could turn electoral victories into lasting stability.
2025 has redefined the global map as a historic wave of elections replaced bullets with ballots from Washington to Tokyo. In the Middle East, Syria's Ahmed al-Shara emerged from revolution to lead a fragile transition after Assad's fall, striving to unify a fractured state. In Lebanon, President Joseph Aoun declared disarmament of non-state actors irreversible, deploying 10,000 troops southward to assert state sovereignty amid ongoing Israeli violations on the 2024 ceasefire. Across the Atlantic, Donald Trump's return as a U.S. president revived America First pressures on NATO trade and global alliances. Germany's Friedrich Merz answered with a conservative mandate, boosting defense, tightening borders, and backing Ukraine. Britain's Keir Starmer ended 14 years of Tory rule, seeking to rebuild European trust while expanding Indo-Pacific ties. Asia witnessed historic change. Japan's Sani Takaichi became its first female prime minister, championing a robust defense posture and unwavering support for Taiwan. In Seoul, Lee Jae-myung won a turbulent election, pledging economic reform and cautious diplomacy with both Pyongyang and Washington. Latin America tilted right as Chile's José Antonio Cast won on a hardline platform on mass deportations, reflecting regional anxieties over crime and migration. Meanwhile, France's hung parliament weakened its global voice, creating space for mid-sized powers like Canada, now led by technocrat Mark Carney, to mediate in a fracturing world. As these new leaders take the seats, the world watches to see if this new God can provide stability in an age of profound geopolitical friction.
And Nepal's Gen Z didn't just demand change, they redefined how it happens. In a world where digital range often fades, theirs reshaped a nation. The question isn't just who will lead, but whether power will ever again be outsourced. And this is not just a story of Nepal, it's a blueprint for a new generation of global democratic awakening. In the corridors of power and the digital plazas of the world, 2025 has arrived not just as a year of voting, but as a tectonic realignment where the ballot has redefined the bullet's reach. And from the discord revolution in the Himalayas to the resurgence of sovereign first mandates in the heart of Europe and Washington, we're witnessing the birth of a new global map drawn by Gen Z defiance and transactional peace. And to provide more analysis regarding these interesting and conflicting issues, joining us from Washington is Mr. Justin Thomas Russell, the Global Foreign Policy Center Executive Director. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for joining me here today, and Happy New Year.
Good to see you, Salma, as always.
Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Russell, let me start off by asking you, does Trump's 28-point plan for Ukraine signal a permanent shift for multilateral NATO diplomacy towards maybe a transactional American-led peace, do you think?
I don't think so. I think what we're dealing with is a temporary era of transactional brokerage, if you will, of deals. I don't think this is long-standing. There's obviously a big difference between mediating a peaceful solution and then just trying to broker a quick fix deal that doesn't have any true longevity or sustainability in the peace process in both the traditional or even future matters.
How do you think will Washington navigate, do you think, the America First agenda alongside the surging far-right mandates of Friedrich Merz and the alternative for Germany, the AfD in Germany?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how AfD truly, truly either flexes its muscles or is going to be just a hiccup in the history of German politics. Look, Merz has got a challenge. Having to do, there's no question that Germany is definitely pushing further right in its nationalistic identity. It doesn't want to be EU. It wants to be Germany. It wants to be the economic power that it has the ability to flex. That being the case, I think the AfD, we've seen this in UKIP in Britain. We're seeing it with Marine Le Pen in France, and I don't think Germany is going to be any different. I think that they'll have a voice. I don't think it's going to be a majority party or something that will take over the chancellery anytime soon.
Okay. Mr. Russell, do you think the U.S. endorsement of Ahmed Ashar's new Syria is just a tactical gamble or just maybe a strategic necessity for the Middle Eastern stability?
Oh, I think this is very much a strategic priority. Look, as long as there's instability in Syria, and trust me, there was no stability under the Assad regime. But what America's done is putting its faith in helping drive President al-Shara to becoming a critical economic and a trusted partner in the region, not just the U.S. but to Western partners and being part of the global economy. When you have economic stability, when you have economic, development actively going on in a region, it's hard for those folks to try and take their anger out violently when they're able to provide for their family, have shelter for their family, put food on the table, and have longstanding jobs and well-working infrastructure.
Okay, as you can see, I'm moving from one topic to the other. So now I'm going to move to Lebanon, with President Joseph Aoun asserting a state monopoly over weapons in Lebanon. Do you think the U.S. is ready for a fully underwrite a post-Hezbollah regional order?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, okay. I've said it many times on this network. Hezbollah's interest is Hezbollah maintaining power. What Joseph Aoun is doing is really showing his true grit as an elected leader of the central government of Lebanon. And what he's doing is he is putting down a mandate that says we are not under the rule of Hezbollah. Mm-hmm. There is a Lebanese defense force. They are the rightful guardians of the protection of the sovereignty of Lebanon and Lebanese people. So yeah, there's absolutely no question in my mind that what Joseph Aoun is doing has the general support of the global community.
Okay, do you think can the U.S., Japan, Taiwan triangle survive Sanae Takaichi's robust defense posture amidst the collapse of Tokyo's long-standing ruling coalition?
No, I don't think so. I think if anything, because Japan is a trusted ally, even though it kind of pushes more to the right, you could say that we're going through a make insert country here great again type movement in several parts of the world. Japan's going through their own nationalistic identity development. And I think as long as Japan remains a trusted strategic partner, as long as it remains a trusted economic partner with the U.S., I think that them building up their ability to defend against unwarranted and unwanted aggression, which is a possibility from either North Korea or China, they have a right, and I think that helps out our strategic posture in the Indo-Pacific region.
Mr. Russell, do you think the Nepal model of digital revolution serve as a global contagion for Gen Z to topple established regimes through social media?
I mean, we've seen this before, Salma. We saw it during the Velvet Revolution in the old Soviet bloc states, which gave us the rise of Václav Havel and the Velvet Revolution there. So, are we seeing a new Velvet Revolution happening in Nepal, which could theoretically spread to other parts of the region? I mean, I would love to see a Velvet. I would love to see a Velvet Revolution in Burma. I would, love to see a Velvet Revolution happen in other parts of Asia that quite frankly could use a change in regime, but could not sustain the long-term fighting that a violent uprising would take. So this is a great event, and I think we could learn from it.
Yeah. Do you think Javier Milei's strengthened mandate in Argentina provides a permanent roadmap for Latin American leaders seeking to dismantle maybe old economic regimes?
I think it's too early to tell when it comes to South America, quite frankly, Selma, and here's why. This is new. I mean, we've gone from one extreme with totalitarian, authoritative rulers, and now we've shifted over to the far left, socialist, communist type leaders that we've seen, and now we're starting to see a shift, that pendulum back to the right. We saw it with Bolsonaro in Brazil. We're seeing it with Milei in Argentina. And and the thing about it is the strategic and economic relationship between Washington is based on the fact that Milei and Trump have a very similar idea of how they want to rule their government. And that's also why, President Trump gave huge bailouts to Argentina, unjustified, unwarranted, and at the expense of American farmers, but it happened. So, I think it's too early to tell how far down the road this is sustainable in individual countries in South America being nationalistic. I think what we'll see is a center right, kind of like what we're seeing in Ecuador, in Quito right now. So, I don't think there's a true determination, because at the same time we're seeing leadership in Colombia and especially Venezuela right now being an issue. So wait and see on that one.
Yeah. Well, that was Mr. Justin Thomas Russell, the Global Foreign Policy Center Executive Director. Thank you so much, sir, for those special insights and your informative knowledge. Thank you very much. While Trump claimed to end wars, 2025's real story was how ballots and not bullets redrew the map. And from Damascus to Santiago, new leaders rose, old alliances frayed, and sovereignty became the new front line.
How did Donald Trump's return to the White House reshape global power dynamics? Did his comeback turn 2025 into a turning point for the international order? As Trump reclaimed the presidency in January, the world faced wars, transitions, and power struggles, setting the stage for a year of geopolitical change. Since taking office, Trump said his administration worked to end or de-escalate multiple conflicts. He highlighted in his UN speech that he had ended 7 wars, more, according to him, than the United Nations. While not all conflicts ended, 2025 saw flashpoints move into ceasefires. Trump also promised to end the nearly 4-year Russia-Ukraine war via his 20-point plan. Trump's list includes India and Pakistan, following U.S.-led talks in May, though India did not credit Washington. Tensions resurfaced after border incidents in Kashmir. U.S. officials worked to prevent escalation between the nuclear-armed neighbors. Trump also cited a ceasefire between Iran and Israel, announced on June 23rd, ending the 12-day war. The agreement followed U.S. participation with Israel in strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Next is a decades-long war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. In August, the leaders signed a peace agreement at the White House alongside Trump, praising his role in the deal. Additional ceasefires include the Gaza ceasefire after a 2-year war launched by the Israeli occupation that killed nearly 70,000 Palestinians. Trump helped broker the deal signed in Sharm el-Sheikh, and his 20-point plan later received UN backing for long-term peace. Another agreement involved the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, with Trump announcing the treaty in December. While fighting continued, Trump called the treaty a great miracle and described it as the 8th war ended under his presidency. A major Middle East shift in 2025 was Syria's transformation after Bashar al-Assad's removal and Ahmad al-Shara's rise. After meeting al-Shara in Riyadh, Trump endorsed him as a very strong leader and lifted long-standing sanctions to aid Syria's reintegration. In Latin America, relations with Caracas deteriorated. Trump renewed pressure on Nicolas Maduro through military warnings, citing security concerns. While no military action occurred, the standoff showed Washington's readiness to assert influence in the Western Hemisphere. By the end of 2025, Trump's return reshaped diplomatic priorities, revived U.S. leverage, and altered calculations. Whether this marks a new world order remains debated, but the global balance of power is clearly in motion.
And as 2025 reshaped political balances worldwide, parliamentary elections in Iraq, Argentina, and the Czech Republic stood out for how voters recalibrated power at home while signaling broader regional shifts. And here's a year-end look at 3 ballots that mattered.
In the Czech Republic, voters delivered a decisive return for former Prime Minister Andrej Babiš. His movement secured a strong parliamentary majority, marking a shift away from the liberal, pro-EU coalition that governed after 2021. The victory of Babiš, described as unsurprising but politically complex, revived debates over migration, sovereignty, and Prague's relationship with Brussels. While markets reacted calmly, European partners watched it closely as the new government signaled a more Eurosceptic and regionally focused approach. Argentina's midterm elections strengthened President Javier Milei's position, with his La Libertad Avanza movement securing just over 41% of the vote, well ahead of its rivals. While the party fell short of an outright parliamentary majority, the result gave Milei greater room to advance his economic agenda, particularly plans to deregulate the economy. The vote saw Milei outperform expectations against the opposition, as Argentines renewed 1/3 of the Senate and half of the lower house in a contest widely viewed as a key test of the balance of power under his presidency. In Iraq, The 2025 parliamentary elections produced no clear governing majority, reinforcing a familiar pattern of fragmented politics. Shia blocs emerged with a significant weight, but internal rivalry slowed government formation. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia Sudani's bid for a second term faced resistance from within the Shia camp itself, highlighting disputes over leadership, reform priorities, and state authority. Analysts say the voter reflected relative industrial stability compared to past cycles, yet underscored deep challenges awaiting the next government, from economic reform to managing different political actors within the political system. Together, these elections captured a year where voters across regions opted for adjustment rather than upheaval.
And for more analysis of the major power shifts and geopolitical developments throughout 2025, we are joined from Washington by Ms. Ginger Chapman, the lawyer and political analyst. Welcome, Ms. Chapman, and Happy New Year.
Thank you for having me today, Salma, and
welcome.
A very happy New Year to you and to all of your viewers at Q News.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Well, let me start off and ask you, Ms. Chapman, 2025 saw Donald Trump return to the White House. How would you say was the most significant geopolitical shift stemming from that transition of power?
Yes. Well, thank you, Salma. As we've all witnessed, 2025 has been a monumental year. It was a year not just of geopolitical shifts and geopolitical realignments, but it was also a year of reckoning where countries and leaders have to come to terms with the facts on the ground. And we've seen major geopolitical shifts, and really it's the revealing of shifts. For example, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Eastern Europe. But as you mentioned, the biggest event for America in 2025 was the inauguration of President Donald Trump. He swept in like a lion. America and the world believed this was going to be the beginning of a new golden era of common sense. And what we have actually realized is President Trump has shown the world the limits of American power. And this may be amongst the largest geopolitical shifts that we've seen in decades. Yep. Great examples of this are our military expeditions in Yemen and now in Venezuela. We are seeing that American military might is not as focused as it has been in decades past. It's gotten us into situations that we see no easy, clear way out of, and our economic warfare in the form of tariffs and trade agreements. Yeah. This has also shown the limits of America's economic power. A great example of this was back in April, the tariff wars with China and America, where ultimately Washington backed down. So you did mention earlier that 2025 was a year of ballots, not bullets. But what we are seeing in America is still relying on bullets, tanks, missiles, airplanes. We are still relying on our military force to commandeer the world, and this is no longer working. Yeah. As America is backing our currency with bullets, we see China and Russia backing their currency with gold reserves.
Yes.
So
Let me ask you, it's just the next question about the foreign policy. The U.S. foreign policy has changed under President Trump this year, especially compared with the previous administration. So what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, one significant difference is most previous administrations would always couch our language, we would always couch our maneuvers in other countries in humanitarian language. We are spreading democracy, we are spreading peace, we're bringing American values to other countries. And in truth, what we've learned over the past year is this has really been a cover for American resource gathering, American hegemony, American expansionist efforts. So President Donald Trump has torn the veil away from that illusion. We now see that there is naked American aggression, naked American maneuvers for resources of other countries. This started with the war in Ukraine against Russia. This was a naked attempt to grab Russia's $72 trillion of natural resources. We have seen that President Trump has been far more honest in his dealings with other countries, saying this is about America's economic benefit, this is about trade that will benefit both countries. However, one of the things that American citizens have noted is that during the first year of Trump's second term, Trump 2.0 that we're calling it, the Trump family, their wealth has almost tripled while Americans are talking about struggling with affordability, struggling with groceries, bills, health insurance. So the American people are opening our eyes to global American hegemony, what America is doing in the rest of the world. Yep. Americans want, we want our forces to come home. We want President Trump to focus on American domestic issues, our immigration, our economy, the growing civil unrest on our streets, in our Congress. However, Trump has focused abroad, and to our acute disappointment, campaign Trump, he campaigned on promises of peace abroad and working out benevolent relations with other countries. But what we have seen is increased military aggression, increased escalation. Once again, off the coast of Venezuela, we are increasing our maneuvers in China.
Ms. Ginger, I'm going to have to finish up because of time constraints. I'm really sorry. But that was Ms. Ginger Chapman, the lawyer and political analyst. Thank you so much for your special insights and your valuable knowledge. Happy New Year. 2025 didn't just change governments, it redrew the world order. From Damascus, where a new ruler now leads Syria's fragile rebirth, to Beirut, where the army moves south to enforce a state of weapons and not factions. From Trump's return in Washington and Merz's hardline shift to Berlin, to Japan's first female prime minister standing firm on Taiwan, and Chile's sharp turn right under Cast. Ballots became battle lines. In a year of fractured parliaments, realigned alliances, and rising tensions, every vote echoed far beyond borders, shaking markets, redefining conflicts, and testing whether new leaders can deliver stability or deepen chaos. And that brings us to the end of this segment about global elections and power shifts. We will continue our special 2025 recap. And now we move on for our top stories to Pasant Shhaita in our newsroom. Pasant.
Thank you, Salma. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Pasant Shhaita. Let's take you straight to the latest top stories making headlines this hour. Across China, cities are welcoming the new year with bright decorations, cultural performances, and high-tech shows, drawing residents and tourists into a festive atmosphere. In Lijiang Old Town in Yunnan, locals in traditional Naxi dress and visitors joined hands around a bonfire for the Ditiao dance, marking the start of the year with a community celebration. In Huayang City in Sichuan, a New Year carnival featured molten iron fireworks, a traditional folk art recognized as intangible cultural heritage, along with a large-scale drone show. In Shanghai, major shopping districts and landmarks were lit up with ornaments and colorful displays, as malls extended operating hours and offered discounts to boost the holiday mood. In central Gaza, a Palestinian artist has marked the end of 2025 by sculpting 2026 in the sand, hoping to draw global attention to the crisis in the enclave. Artist Yazid Abu Jarad created the sand sculpture on a beach in Deir al-Balah. He says the message is aimed at the world, urging people to keep Gaza's situation in focus as the new year begins. The artwork stands as a symbolic appeal amid ongoing hardship in the Palestinian territory, using a simple public gesture to call for awareness and solidarity. Ukrainians are heading into the new year hoping for peace, but in Kiev, celebrations remain subdued, with no major public venues funded and families planning to mark the night at home. Kiev authorities have again not allocated funds for New Year's Eve venues, meaning no usual food courts or amusement rides in the main squares. Instead, there's only a small skating rink and a few stalls selling pastries and hot drinks. Surveys suggest that more than half of Ukrainians believe entertainment is currently prohibited. Many residents say they will celebrate quietly with family, trying to keep a sense of normal life. Economists say a modest New Year's table for a family of 4 will cost nearly $100, about 10% higher than last year, citing war-related economic losses, reduced production, and higher energy and fuel prices. Meanwhile, daily life continues under air raid sirens, rolling back clouds, and ongoing heating and water problems. Now to Gaza aid deliveries, as the Egyptian Red Crescent says it has launched its 106th Zaid al-Izza convoy from Egypt to the Strip. The Egyptian Red Crescent says the 106th Zaid al-Izza from Egypt to Gaza convoy is heading toward the Gaza Strip with urgent humanitarian aid. It says the convoy is carrying around 5,300 tons of assistance, including more than 2,800 tons of food parcels and flour, around 500 tons of relief supplies, 600 tons of personal care items, and over 1,400 tons of petroleum products. And that brings us to the end of our top stories for this hour. Stay with us for continuing coverage, analysis, and breaking updates from across the region and around the world here on Qnews.